Can you have compassion fatigue with a depressed partner? Yes. It's not only possible, it's quite common. I have no real advice for you except to not neglect yourself and your own needs. Everybody has their limit. It's okay to set a boundary. You are not responsible for someone else's happiness. Yes, it's possible. I won't give advice though because my experience was several years ago and I don't think I handled it in a particularly healthy way. 100,000% yes to all of the questions. Boundaries are very personal and dependent on your needs, abilities. I think it's important to constantly be reminding ourselves that setting boundaries is not a method of controlling someone else's life, but a framework for expressing, indicating that you're part of the cause and effect chain is no longer the same. It only works when you are actually willing to be negatively affected the consequences of someone violating those boundaries. So start there. If you can describe the situation a little more, I can probably be more specific with examples. Yes. I can only speak from mine and my wife's experience. My wife has terrible anxiety and obsessive-compulsive disorder. I have ADHD and bipolar disorder. Both of us exhaust the other from time to time. Well, normally we are extremely supportive and nurturing to each other because we can empathize with the other's struggles. There are times when either one of us is running on empty and is barely keeping themselves together as is. We personally have a safe word for times like this that lets the other know that while we want to be supportive and nurturing, we need space to handle our own s. That takes a lot of communication, respect, and trust. But for our relationship it has been an invaluable strategy. Look up caretaker syndrome. Yes. My long-term partner, 10 years, suffers with MH issues. Has all his life. It's possible to live a happy, fulfilled life, but I'd suggest you put boundaries in place and make sure your partner also has a good friend group or family around if you can't step up due to your own mental health issues. It can be exhausting, stressful, full of guilt, and it may have you questioning, what if we just had a normal life, but for the right person it's worth the effort. Please look after yourself and get help for yourself too. Set gentle, easy boundaries. If you don't want to be in the relationship anymore or you aren't sure you can't be this person's caregiver, then that's okay too. Except that some things may be different. Holidays and family events, etc. As I said, it can be amazing but so hard. Communication is definitely key. And always put yourself first. Red heart. Yes. Tell your friend, wink wink, that they shouldn't feel guilty about any emotions that come with dealing with someone, let alone a partner that has depression or any other kind of disruptance. Depression can lead to a lot of unhealthy ways of coping and irrational thoughts and decisions, and can really alienate the healthier partner. Forgive my way of wording. Speaking from some personal experience, you should never try to replace a professional in helping your partner because that can lead to some unforeseen consequences. For example, YPUR partners increased dependency for your opinion and non-dependency in making decisions. That of course doesn't mean you shouldn't be there for your partner in moments of need and desperation, but you should always seek professional medical help and evaluation when it comes to these kinds of moments. 6 years living with a manic depressive, it sucked the life out of me. I breathed when I left. You are not someone's nurse, babysitter, or therapist. I have been married for 20 years. I know a healthy relationship. I don't regret leaving as I couldn't handle it anymore. Speaking as someone who had severe depression for years. Yes, it's absolutely real, and you have every right to set boundaries or even cut off the entire relationship. Mental health, depression in this case, is an explanation, not an excuse. Whoever this is, It's their responsibility to manage their illness, not yours. It's unfair to both of you. There's a difference between supporting a friend and carrying them. That difference is if caring for them is affecting your own mental health. That includes fatigue and stress. Coming from someone who was severely depressed and know how extreme it can be. It's not your responsibility to care for them. It's unfair to both of you. I totally understand what you're going through, because I'm dealing with it too. Depression can wear down even the most optimistic, resilient and helpful person in the world. You're just a human too. You have your own problems to deal with, and to then have to carry the dead weight of someone who can't or won't help themselves is a lot to ask. I understand depression is terrible, and it's nobody's fault, but make sure to put on your own oxygen mask first. You'll be no good to anyone if you let yourself get dragged down. Boundaries are not a bad thing. They can give people stability and certainty when they're used correctly. At a very minimum, put into place whatever boundaries you need to be able to cope. Beyond that, consider boundaries that will make life objectively better, or help your friend move forward rather than spiral further downwards. All I can say is good luck and be good to yourself. Yes. Common. It can be draining for the partners of anyone with a chronic physical or mental illness. Only you can decide which boundaries are necessary and most important, and how to set them. A therapist of your own can help you figure this piece out. Generally, though, you need time to yourself, options to enjoy your life even if your partner doesn't, and to not be made 100%, or even 50%, responsible for your partner's well-being or recovery. If your partner is also suicidal, you need to set a boundary there too. They need to be involved with professional treatment, and they can't use their suicidality to guilt or control you. Having recently come out of a big depression slump for many years, I went to therapy and started putting in work and dragged myself out of it. I know this isn't possible for some people. I somewhat recently got back into dating, and met a very sweet, fun woman. We hung out a lot at the start, but her depression and negativity was starting to drag me back into the state I was in. So I moved on. We still talk and are friends, but I couldn't be in a relationship with her. That being said, yes, it's 100% possible. I have no solution, if that's what you were looking for. But yes, it's definitely possible and common. Early in my relationship to my spouse, we decided that we weren't going to fake emotions for each other. It's exhausting pretending to be happy. You shouldn't have to do it at home. When mental health struggles, disorders are in the mix, it's especially important. While it's not fun when your partner is unhappy, they shouldn't have to put up a show for you. There are times where you have to be strong when your partner is having a hard time. But that needs to have a limit. Based on what I've read, your partner is telling you he wants you to be able to be open, but is showing you that he doesn't care about your needs and he isn't safe to open up to. You're being compassionate, patient and massively supportive. He's taking advantage of you. He's making no effort to get better. I know you can't cure depression. He does have to try to improve his life, rather than drag down those around him. To ever get out of this slump, the options you have here are: 1. Continue on and hope he eventually seeks help. Or 2. Set reasonable boundaries to protect your physical and mental health, and enforce the consequences of those boundaries. You may already know this, but maybe it can help someone. Boundaries aren't about asking someone to do or not do something. They're about you reacting in a way that protects you. For example, if you talk about me not looking happy enough, I will leave. You aren't asking for the person to change. You're telling them how you'll react. If they want you to stay in the conversation, they cannot tell you to look happier. Can be anything that makes sense for you. You have to follow through with the consequence. Leaving. Or they will know they don't have to respect your boundaries. You don't have to define your boundaries or explain yourself. If a conversation or situation is making you uncomfortable, remove yourself from it. Come up with responses that aren't emotional and you can repeat I'm not comfortable with that. Dig into this topic further. There's so much to learn about boundaries and they can be difficult to set. The people who don't respect your boundaries are the people you need to set boundaries with the most. If he threatens to harm himself or you, call emergency services. Often, that is the only way to stop that kind of threat. If they're being serious, then they need serious help. And if they weren't, then that's abuse. Yes, it's called burnout. Yeah. Yes, you can. And it's okay. As long as you feel you've done everything you could do for them. It's not okay to stress yourself out like that. You need to take care of yourself as well. Source: suicidal friend. Yes, it's possible. Depressed people can bring you down if you allow it. And sometimes you won't even recognize how it's affecting you until it's, for lack of a better phrase, too late. Yes, as much as you love them, there is a limit. Boundaries? If they're getting help, then what you need to keep your own level head. If they're not, but they want to or would be willing to, just can't seem to make the call themselves, set it up and guide them. If they're not and don't believe in it, leave. It's harsh, but a drowning person will pull down a rescuer. Speaking as a person with lifelong depression, anxiety, married for 23 years with another person who has that and more, and lived with parents who have a whole lot more. Speaking as someone with extremely bad depression, don't be afraid to focus on yourself. We'll only feel worse if our condition makes you miserable. So if your focus is helping your partner manage, then they'll appreciate you taking care of your own mental state and moderating the effort you give them. My partner brings me home treats from her job because I'm very food motivated. And it helps me perk up enough to get through the day. Anxiety fatigue can be common also. I can only get hit with, I understand if you want to leave me over this, before I'll hit you with an okay then. Absolutely you can. And though it might be seen as cruel, if it starts taking a strong negative toll on your personal life, it's safe. That's where lines need to be drawn or for a breakup to happen. Obviously depends on how devoted you are to said partner and the extremes you'll go to for them, which, for everyone, is different.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.